I think we'll talk about the thing that's like kind of the most important to people immediately, because it's what you're going to play first, more or less, which is the pre-patch event. How does the War Within actually start?
Yes, well, it seems to start with a bit of a call to the world's past.
Member berries!
Some member berries.
Which, for your 20th anniversary, I think you're allowed to do.
Does also make me think, right?
Oh no.
I know, I hate it when I think. Usually ends badly, but you've got Plunderstorm, you've got Mop Remix. Surely that team is going to try to cook up something for the 20th anniversary. Does actually make you think. Because when you take a look at the roadmap, it is War Within launch, 11.0.5, and that's it. Now, it's not to say that it's barren. That still is plenty of content, like all quite well paced out, but...
I love we're getting to the point where it's like, a new expansion? Not enough, sorry. Not enough.
Yeah, there could be. I wonder just because it's the 20th, and that's a pretty big number. Anyway, yeah, so Radiant Echoes, World Song Memories. What the hell are those, Matt? What's going on?
That's a very good question. So what basically happens is there's a 30-minute timer that's like flickering around the world, and there's different parts of the world that are like basically under attack not under attack really. They're described as the memories of Azeroth bubbling up. And then let's just go through to Wowhead. Let me just make sure that is visible for you. Is it visible for you? Hello?
Yay.
Do you like when you press your buttons on the stream deck and it just doesn't press for a second? Class. Send us a new one, Elgato. Cheers. So, I had a great post on it here, but there isn't an awful lot, right? This was in the press event build. It's not in the public alpha build.
You got to one of these, didn't you?
Yes. So I probably, outside of Blizzard, I probably know more about these. No, never mind. That's right. They found the vendor, the lucky fuckers. So this is like completely half-baked. On the alpha, there was like, I saw this congealed memory is in, believe it or not, you might be able to tell from where it is physically. It's in Dragonblight. When you kill that, there's this congealed memory is a big elite mob. It doesn't really do any damage. It just basically is a big punching bag. You beat the ever living shit out of it. It spawns loads of little mobs to like try and attack you and stuff, and loads of different like mobs that are basically see-through versions of Northern mobs. So they come and spawn and you fight off. When you defeat that, then you get this thing pops up at the top of the screen, which is the Radiant Echoes appearing game, which then marks your map like they have here with all of these like events that happen. And they're all callbacks to different events that happened on that actual continent. So there's an example of there's, Remembered Stitches. There's, this is like a little bit where you're redoing whatever stuff was happening with the undead there. And then there's Thorim. So I actually almost like cleared this by myself, an alpha. And then Thorim kept one-shotting me. So I didn't actually get to do that, unfortunately. I didn't get to finish it because he was a very big mob. So it is like a full-on world event. They got a shot of Ragnaros as well, being remembered.
Okay, cool.
They're not like massive, insane bosses, right? It's not like this is a raid boss. It's just, what a big world elite is like, throwing a load of stuff out, world bossy kind of things like that. There's also like versions, there's Onyxia and Dustwallow Marsh. There's this vendor they found which has like a ring, Warband bound. I'm going to say Warbound for now. Warbound bag, Regent bag, pets, full set of like catch-up gear for normal mode season 4, which is basically going to be stuff you'll use for the leveling experience in the War Within. There's also a series of quests. There was a
Radiant City.
Yeah, there's a load of quests. No, I'm talking about quests for this actually.
Oh,
I'm talking about quests for this World Song thing where you just have to go and kill stuff. Then you get residual memories for doing this. It's a fairly standard event, but with the extra flavor of it's just a little callback to everything in World of Warcraft's past, which I think is very, very nice. And like they talk about it in the sense of like what was it? It was Khadgar, I think. Say like he was one of the people who talks to you when you do this stuff, like through the like talking head frame thing.
Yeah.
And he says something to the effect of, "Are these Azeroth's memories or ours?" Which I was like, "That's a very good question, Khadgar. I hope we get an answer." So that's like the pre-patch event, and it's nothing super special, but it is very cool, and I think people enjoy it, especially if
what
you
do you
can
think about
level.
the big new achievement, Matt? The achievement that, is it EU bias or is it NA bias in the raiding scene by making an achievement called Echo Chaser?
Because yes, that's right.
This is an achievement that is for Team Liquid, obviously, which does show NA bias. However, it's called Echo Chaser, meaning it is also EU bias. Well done.
They found balance.
Blizzard, but they knew. They totally knew when they were putting that in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which, you know what, actually, we're talking about it. That's probably going to be banter within the guilds. Hopefully. Oh, I'm sure it'll be banter because sportsmanship is good. But it would be really funny if like Liquid ended up taking the next Race to World first while using the Echo Chaser title.
I would love that.
That would be really funny.
That would be funny. You know what to do. So here's some of the, and this is the other part that I find interesting, and there was no hint of this in game. The achievement says on Radiant Discord difficulty, defeat each of the following rares encountered.
Is that something in the Discord shop?
I don't know.
Is that how Discord's trying to turn a profit?
Yeah, that sounds like something you buy for your Discord mod.
The Radiant Discord.
Whichever side you're on. So there's a lot of stuff to do, and obviously achievement hunters and people who want that title, they can go and spend a couple of days, I imagine, because there's a couple of these spawn each time. So there's maybe six or so events every time, so you could maybe get through this in like a couple of days of the 30-minute rolling around. There's 8 of them overall. Old Gods Forsaken. That's an interesting one. What does that mean? Descendants of Distant Waters. What does that mean? What's all this mean? Does any of it mean anything? Guess we'll find out. So these are like kind of called Radiant Echoes. They're kind of called World Song Memory. They're not super finished, but that's like the first thing you're probably going to experience realistically. Then what's the second thing you're going to experience? And that is a quest line, which was testable. And based on how the World Song Memories looked, and based on how this quest was, I don't think they meant to leave that in the build.
Oh.
I have a funny feeling they kind of did. Maybe they did, but I did see like every character on the press event, not on the public alpha, already started with a quest that led into this. So I think it might have been a mistake because they said they weren't going to test the intro scenario, or Ian said that.
Yeah.
And obviously the scenario wasn't testable, but this seemed to be like a lead-in to the scenario. Or maybe it was part of the pre-patch because there's like a place where once this ends, you can go, well, I can see a small time skip of a couple days, weeks, months.
Yeah, usually they'll do like, say, a month-long pre-patch. It will start in a certain way, and then in 2 weeks, the next stage of it will unlock. So we'll probably do something like that. So basically, right, what we're going to be doing is there'll be these echoes. They happen. We go around the world. We knock them out. Almost
very reductive.
Almost a little. Well, could you
literally? Yeah.
Just a little bit of the elemental or the primal storms, whatever they were called. I suppose a little bit of the Legion thing. Yeah. I suppose rather than an invasion, it is just Ragnaros and his lads appear.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I think on that front.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly fine. I remember there was some pretty damn fast ways to level in the in both the Legion and Dragonflight ones. I wonder what they'll do this time. We do have a little bit to talk about leveling, though, after. Actually, leveling will come up in a few ways because they've made it really alt-friendly and they have made it really fast. If
leveling takes more than 2 hours, I'd be surprised. Let's put it that way. I mean, from 1 to 70, not up to 80. Not up to 80. This is super from CMan or Sherman saying, advice for returning players coming for War Within. That's a really good question. Play the game. Don't get worried that Dragonflight's really weird and confusing when you log in if you haven't played in a while. Probably best to wait for Mr. Madara Remix to come in around May time or the pre-patch and then hop in and play lots. That would be my kind of general advice. Just because Dragonflight's in a weird situation at the minute, especially when you consider Season 4 being...
Yeah.
If you come in with no knowledge now, you're likely going to get knowledge checked and not have a great time. Unless you're like trying to level and just kind of get comfortable with the game again, then you can do that perfectly fine. But if you're into like end game, it's probably best to like kind of chill, wait out, pay attention to like what people are saying about it, more or less.
Yeah, pretty much.
So to move on then to the Radiant Cry and what happens in it, there's a little bit of spoilers. There's nothing major here.
Well, the Radiant Cry. Why did I call it the Radiant City?
Because that's a thing. That's probably a Destiny thing.
Yes, that absolutely does sound like Destiny.
I need to know this.
So the Radiant Cry then is a War Within quest line that we seem to do with actually our cast of heroes. We've got Magni, got Jaina, Anduin, Thrall. Magni, of course, has lost his luster.
He has indeed. He's a stony boy instead of a crystally boy. So I guess I'll kind of I'll summarize this a little bit. Where fundamentally we go, what's the crack with everyone getting visions? Now we assume there'll be a little bit before this where we actually see the visions happening because we don't know what the visions are.
And the current patch, or sorry, the next patch, Darkheart.
Oh yeah, of course, Darkheart could lead into it, as could more intro cinematic storytelling stuff.
Yep.
Because obviously we saw Thrall and Anduin have a chat about it. So clearly they're involved in some capacity, but that hasn't happened to us yet. It's unclear as to whether or not these begin for a reason, or if these begin just because Azeroth decides it, or if Xal'atath does something in Darkheart. We imagine she probably does, because she seems to do an awful lot throughout the next expansion, so she does. So basically you show up to Magni and Silithus for a little blast to the past for any BFA players. Then Magni has a little emo moment where he's like, Azeroth's mean to me or something along those lines, and that's why he looks all stony now. Because he,
I mean, it's like what would happen to Gimli if Galadriel took her lock of hair back. He'd be wild depressed. He'd be very sad. Matt obviously knows what I mean.
100%, yes. 100%, because I definitely watched that movie, even though I got bullied for not watching it like a year ago in the stream.
That's it.
So Magni's basically, he's kind of decided to rebel a little bit because all of the being a speaker of Azeroth never amounted to much, except for what happened.
Funny that.
Yeah, it happened as all the BFA. And then he was all like, because he can't physically feel anything as a crystal man. And he like has a little complaint about he can't even like hug his fucking family anymore or any of that shit. So he's like, okay, this is bullshit. He tries to speak to her. He gets knocked out. And then we go to Dalaran and go, here, mate, right. He's out cold. We'll hang off a bit. Khadgar's like, right, I'll hit up the books. I'll see what I can do. Moira has a nice little emotional thing, which I'm not going to talk about because it's nice, right?
Yeah.
It's just a nice little family thing. We see Dagran for the first time in game. Obviously the son of Moira, who we last saw as a generic baby, and now he's a little fucking nerd. Actually, unironically, he's just a nerd.
Yeah,
he's just a dark iron nerd. I'm like, I felt bad for thinking it, but I immediately thought of like a timid version of a Realm Reborn Alphino. We're just like, you little fucking shit. He's not like smug or have a know-it-all thing about him, but he is like a character who's very different. And I was thinking of this earlier for a different reason. I was thinking about World of Warcraft doesn't have the biggest array of character types.
No, it really doesn't.
Because you think about what have we got? We've got badass people who don't do anything, badass people who are upset sometimes. No one's kind of timid or kind of, weak of character initially. It's all just badass person faces internal problem, overcomes it. So I was kind of happy to see Dagran a little bit because
it's where's Khadgar before he learns to be all strong?
Yeah.
Right.
In a book, obviously. In a book.
True.
But even then.
A book. Or what, Matt, if I even said, where is the Khadgar that we met in Warcraft, the beginning,
exactly.
2016?
Yeah.
So kind of like that Khadgar. And he was, a bit scrappy and didn't know shit yet.
Yeah, see, no, except Anduin, but now he's badass. See, that's the thing. Every character in World of Warcraft is a badass on a bad day if they're having a problem. It's like there's not really a huge amount of real different characters. I'm getting a little bit on, but I was pretty happy to see Dagran. But that's because I thought instantly, I was like, oh, that's like a really new feeling character to me. That actually feels kind of fresh to me. That's whether people like it. Who knows? But that's an aside. I think that's an aside. So that's the bit where we actually there's a little bit intro. Magni will be involved. We're gonna have setup with each of our characters. That's for sure. Because there's no Illyria yet.
Yeah.
So
comparing this to what you call him, Kurog Grim Totem. You know that very important character to the start of Dragonflight, who kind of players didn't really see.
Yeah, he was in the short story, and then he awakened Rasagath, and we didn't see him until we killed him.
Yeah.
Yep. Spot on.
Look, obviously problems can still happen.
Yeah.
But I do like how there are scenes with flipping characters that lead into the expansion. And this is just the pre-patch stuff. Of course, there is Darkheart, which will be involving Xal'atath. Don't know if it'll be involving... I mean, it will be involving Xal'atath, I would say, probably evidenced by her new model being in that patch. I don't think we've seen Illyria's new model in that patch, though, so it's probably just Xal'atath.
Sorry, I got stuck thinking there for a second. So
Computers do that too.
Yeah.
You just see the little spinning beach ball.
that's me half the time. So the other thing, and I was thinking this would be a second pre-patch event, but based on what Ian said in the Wildcast, I think it's going to be the actual intro event, which is kind of weird. Maybe it is. Maybe they're going to have like a multiple part intro. Maybe pre-patch will be like, here's pre-patch part 1, Radiant Echoes, Wolfsong Memory. Here's part 2. Defending Dalaran.
Because of defending Dalaran. So that sounds like a distinctly... it sounds distinct.
Yeah, so we know we're defending Dalaran because there's Dalaran Defender transmog sets in the build. There's other reasons as well, which we'll get into slightly later. But
just a few.
You'll tell these are the like purple versions of the Argus gear
set
that were data mined ages ago, and I was like, what? But I'm like, this makes sense because when were we last wearing that gear? In Dalaran, in Legion. And they just made a purple version, which is enjoyable.
Initially we thought it was all void.
Yeah,
and,
we did, yeah.
You could think that, but also obviously Karentor.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
Funny that. Shades of purple.
Oh my God.
Good thing Void's blue now. Which is actually kind of true. I hope you don't get sick of Void, because I'll show you a little hint of how much Void there is in this expansion very, very soon.
But it does feel different to the old God Purple stuff.
It's not even close. Not even close. Like, it is properly different, which I very much enjoy. Kind of disappointed this got spoiled so early. So I'll probably talk about this in the story-related segment, but yeah, I would be a lot happier if I think Blizzard decided to just go, you're seeing fucking nothing until the shit goes live.
That.
They're doing that with the actual content of the intro.
Yes.
We don't know what happens. We know a little bit of the aftermath, but we don't know what happens. So
I think they basically realized they couldn't really hide it for whatever. Now,
it was too baked into the introduction.
Yes.
To do that.
Now, they could have just skipped the introduction, but then it's probably woven through so much of the character stuff. They probably realized that a thing going on with Dalaran, that's unavoidable, but exactly what happens, well, that can change. Of course, I saw a tweet and it did make me think of the legendary ending of Halo 3, and certainly as the legendary endings of Halo games would make somebody think, okay, well, there's what the normal ending may seem to be, but maybe something else could happen. Maybe there could be a little bit of context that could change things. So, yes.
That's it.
We'll talk about it properly when it's time, though. When we can properly signpost that for everyone.
Yeah, I don't want to say what happens in case you've not been spoiled if you're a viewer from us, but you haven't seen other things.
Yeah.
Because I genuinely think it'll be way more enjoyable if you actually experience it fresh.